Welcome back, everyone, to another amazing episode of Bumping and Thumping, your podcast featuring everything about for independent wrestling from around the world. I'm Annie. So the past few episodes have been dedicated to giving our spotlight to the amazing and talented women who wrestle across the Midwest, but never a better to deviate from the normal pattern. It's my intention to add an element of the unknown to this episode. What's a world without a little chaos? I think it's a really boring one. So when we come back after a word with our sponsors, I'm going to incite a little chaos in this episode. So when we return, we will be speaking with the agent of chaos himself, Kevin Kalloway.
The secret to building passive income and generating wealth in real estate is having access to capital to buy those great deals when they come along. One thing most real estate moguls have going for them is knowing how to utilize private funding and where to find it. For those that don't, there's tsquarelending.com. We provide real estate investors of all levels and experience with the means to acquire the funding they need to purchase and renovate, purchase and hold, or refinance properties that they currently own. How? By connecting them with private lenders that base their approval on the appraisal value of the property only, not a credit score. Our lenders feature interest-only loans, approval for a loan in 24 hours or less, no debt-to-income ratios, refi properties after only 60 days of seasoning. Don't delay. Call today. 877-49-LOANS, 877-495-6267, or visit us on the web, www.t-squarelending.com.
Thumping, your podcast featuring everything about for independent wrestling from around the world. Join with me, the agent of chaos, Kevin Kalloway. Kevin, how are you feeling today?
I'm always looking for new ways to do things. So here we are. I'm doing good. Ready for some questions.
And boy, do I have a ton of questions for you because you're an enigmatic creature. So I can't think of a better subject to pull from today. So first of all, the questions that so many people want to ask. How did your love for professional wrestling ignite? And what was your earliest core memory of that?
So as far as when I first really started to love pro wrestling, it was because of my father. My father was a huge fan of wrestling. And quick aside there, my father and grandfather were at WrestleMania 3 in the Pontiac Silverdome, and they saw Hogan slam Andre. And they were huge wrestling fans, and that's how I got introduced to it. I believe the first one I really watched was WCW because they were big Hulk Hogan fans at the time. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really get into WCW. I got into the WWF right as the Attitude Era was ending. My first core memory, the first match that I really, really remember other than the Royal Rumble 2001 is 3 Stages of Hell, Stone Cold versus Triple H. Mm-hmm. And that match ignited an entire passion for me going forward. So I think that was the earliest real core memory I have for wrestling. And then it's just kind of built from there into obviously where I am today.
So how did you know that you wanted to venture down that path for yourself?
Ooh, all right. This is a fun story. So I got out of college. I have a degree in special education. I was very adamant that I wanted to make sure I was college educated and to make sure that I had any kind of fallback necessary just to make sure if something didn't pan out, just to make sure if there was an injury, anything, that I had something that I was passionate about otherwise. That being said, there was always an element missing when I got out of college because I was a 3-sport athlete when I went through high school, middle school, and everything. I wrestled, I played basketball, I played soccer. They tried to get me to play football and I hated the coach, so I didn't do that. But there was a lot of athletic things just to get out of me, but I had put on a lot of weight when I was in college. So I actually had to lose about 90 pounds, I think, after I got out of college before I started training in wrestling. Mm-hmm. And I kind of put my nose to the grindstone. I was listening. I remember the song I was listening to, and I remember where I was coming back from. I was coming back from Las Vegas with a couple of friends, and I was sitting on the plane, and I was really reassessing what I wanted to do with my life. And I said, you know what? I have to try and do this thing that I've been passionate about. I have to get trained in pro wrestling and see where it goes. If it goes nowhere, that's fine. I have a teaching degree, and I can live my life as a teacher just fine. If it goes somewhere, boy, that'd be something. And I was sitting there, I was listening to Little Dicky's Molly. I don't know why, but that song just hit. That song just hit in that moment. And I'm like, you know what? This is where it's going to go. And this is what I'm going to do.
So before you even ventured into the wrestling business, let me sum this up. You lost 90 pounds before the training even started.
Correct. And
then you graduated with your special education degree before you even started, right?
Other way around. I graduated with my special education degree, then dropped the 90 pounds. But either way, yes.
Do you see in your experience that there are people in the business that kind of start wrestling, then pursue a career? I feel like that has the makings of almost not disaster, but it has major ramifications.
You know, I always felt it's a double-edged sword.
Sure.
If you start early in the wrestling business, you have a lot more years of being young. And I see a lot of kids and teenagers, whatever you want to call them, young adults. They'll get into wrestling right out of high school, or they'll get trained right away. Like, this is my passion. This is what I want to do. And more power to them. Honestly, they have a young body. They can take the punishment that is pro wrestling training, and they can take the punishment that is pro wrestling in general. It is a lot of pain. It's a lot of getting your body used to things that it's not used to. It's just mini car crashes back and forth. So a younger body is better about taking that abuse. But generally speaking, and this isn't everyone, but generally speaking, when you're younger, you don't necessarily understand as much from a psychology standpoint. You don't necessarily understand as much just from experience of living. That extra 6 years going into college, I feel benefited me very greatly, because I got to be able to think about things a lot more and critically, simply because I had the experience of having to do so in my studies.
Sure.
But again, the double-edged sword to that is that my body is far more broken now. And it just is what it is. It can be a pitfall if you let it be, but there's a lot of things that you can get past as well.
So I've noticed you've been releasing like a series of weekly promos, and first impression, like when you open your mouth, people listen to what you have to say. Like, you are incredibly intentional with the words you speak. And I feel like that's one of the most fascinating features about you. So I've noticed this pattern, and from a recent video that you released, it sounds like you're transitioning from the artist of despair to the agent of chaos. Is this true?
Well, the entire point of the video was to tell everyone that the artist of despair was dead, but Kevin Kalloway isn't. So yes, the transition from the artist of despair is full. And the second that video was released, he was dead. It is all the agent of chaos now. And really what the point of those videos are is to make people think. Because so many times I see so many people just go from promotion to promotion, not really think about what they're doing. So these promos aren't meant to be directed at someone. They aren't meant to be directed at any specific individual, promotion, anything. That's not what it's about. What it's about is calling out and calling attention to people who potentially fall into these categories. And quite frankly, I take a very, if the shoe fits, shove it down your throat mentality with it. If you don't like it, suck it.
That actually leads me into a question that I wrote based on that very promo. So your timing is impeccable.
Always is.
So in your If the Shoe Fits reel, you say when they finally decide to stab you in the back, that's not an if, but when they do, I'll be making sure that I've put in the work to take your spot. Can you quickly explain this line and its intention before we take a break?
I'll sum it up very quickly then. What it basically means is that this is a business full of snakes. And if you aren't making money for the people around you, you are of no use to them. So the second you are of no use to them, that's when I will be. And whatever work I have put in, I don't intend on showing all my cards, but whatever work I have put in will slot me in exactly where you were so that I can reap that reward and benefit. I will make them that money that you can't.
I think you said, I will eat. What does that mean to you?
It means I'm going to put food on the table for what I care about. And I don't care if I have to take the food off of theirs.
So you're not afraid to interject your chaos then?
Precisely.
Kevin, we've unpacked so much in this first segment. Just thank you for your time, but we will take a brief word to our sponsors and we will be right back with the Agent of Chaos, Kevin Kalloway.
Washtenaw Golfside in Ypsilanti, where everyone comes to play.
Everyone to the next segment of Bumpin' and Thumping, your podcast featuring everything about foreign independent wrestling from around the world. And join with me today, the Agent of Chaos, Kevin Kalloway. Kevin, in another one of your reels, you mentioned that no one talks about your in-ring work or how dangerous you can be because that isn't where you thrive. I feel like you don't by your words, I feel like you mean that you don't thrive what's physically seen. And if this isn't the case, how do you thrive and what tactics do you resort to when engaging with opponent standing across the ring from you?
I engage way prior to that. That's the thing.
Yeah.
See, that's why the in-ring work doesn't matter as much, because it's not about me going in there. I'm a large, imposing man. Make no mistake. What I do to people still hurts. What I do is not flashy. What I do is not talked about. It's okay. I understand. Maybe I need to come up with a more violent way to bring about those. But when I say that's not where I've thrived, I mentioned earlier that my brain is the thing I trained first before I got into the business. Mm-hmm. Where I thrive at is mind games and being able to get into people's heads. It's not about what I do. It's about what I say. It's about how that message can get brought across to people. Because if I am already in their heads by the time the bell rings, I've already won. Maybe I even lose the match, but what happens after? What happens to their psyche after they've been in a ring with me, after they've been in a program with me? That's what I'm interested in, because that's how you can really leave a legacy. That's how you can make an impact. It's not about the impact I can put on a body. Injuries are temporary, but trauma, that's forever.
And you know what? You just displayed this vibration in person. You were featured on Forest Wrestling on July 26th. You had a match against the kids next door, but Xander Bennett seemed to be the target of this. Can you explain the situation and why Xander?
To be clear on one thing, I didn't have a scheduled match. They simply didn't have a Jamal King there, and I saw an opportunity. I made a temporary alliance with FUBK. I didn't really care about winning the trios titles because you're right. It was about Xander. Xander, in the first promo that I shot, decided to share it and say he needed a match, to say he needed a match really bad, to talk a bunch of crap about me. And I saw my opportunity to strike back. That's all it was. I didn't really need to be in the match, but they were already down a man. I figured, why not put a little torment onto his friends? Really show him some things. But then I realized, as I was going through the match, I saw a Xander broken.
Yeah.
I saw a Xander in distress. But I didn't read that distress as what I was doing to the people around him. I read that distress as a man trapped in something, as a child trapped in the clubhouse. He needed a reason to be out of it. And I said as much during my post-match promo. Come sometime in the very near future, I will show him what I mean, past the simple things that I did in that tag match. That's when we get to see the real Xander, because that's when the seeds that I've planted already will sprout into full-grown trees, and we can see a man burn his own clubhouse to the ground.
So is it that Xander incited chaos, or why did you respond to him in such a way? Did he put that intention out there and
He put an intention out there for certain,
Sure.
more inspired. As we went through the match, it was initially about proving a point, but then it became about something much more than that. And it's important that people make these changes in their lives, because really, and I touched on this in another promo, who can you trust in this world? In a world of backstabbers, in a world of people who really don't know what they want to do with their lives, but they know that they'll walk on anyone that they need to get there. And you see so much negativity online, and your friends are now your foes. The people that you loved are now people that you hate. Time makes fools of us all. So time is simply catching up to Xander. And now it's the time for him to sprout on his own.
Wow, Kevin. I feel like you're just planting the seeds of chaos right here, right on Bumping and Thumping. And I honestly don't know what I got myself into, but we're going with it. So, okay, you've established yourself as an agent of chaos. So I'm going to shift this meaning and expose the polarizing side of your chaos. I happen to know that you are an incredibly structured human being. Not only are you an agent of chaos, but you're incredibly skilled at agenting wrestling matches. So how do you use this talent to enhance a wrestling show? Even though it's unseen by fans, how does agenting a match make the show even more cohesive?
Generally speaking, the job of an agent in the back is to make sure that the card is cohesive, and to make sure that we're not using the same finishes in matches. We're not doing the same things. We're not doing the same moves. And we're making sure that everything has kind of a feel to it. To me, it means I like to allow the wrestlers full to their creativity, as long as they're sticking within the bullet points of what the promoter wants. And as long as they're sticking within that, all I have to do is come in, hear it, and make a couple changes to make sure that it's coherent while they were calling it. During the calling of a match or anything like that, you can get lost in what you're doing and forget about small details. So having that other person to be there who has the business in mind, who has the business of the match and where things are going from there in mind, it allows you and the match and the card and pretty much everything top to bottom to run a little smoother without someone in the back going, oh my God, they've done something ridiculous. Now we have to change all of it.
So is it completely necessary for everyone to get all of their stuff in?
I think no. There's varying degrees of getting your things into me. Generally speaking, getting a couple things in that are yours so that you can brand them are very important. but you don't have to do everything everywhere all at once, especially if you're planning 3, 4, 5 show feuds. You want to give them a little bit of something at the beginning, then you build up to there. At the end, when you're doing the last match, that's when you do all of the things everywhere all at once, because then you can take some steps back from that feud and you won't have to face them again in, the next 6 to 12 months.
Kevin, you're like controlled chaos. I love how you're an entire paradox. You're somewhere in the middle between chaos and order. And you're right. I feel like you're right in the middle of that.
The seamless shift is the importance of it.
Okay. So when we come back from a word with our sponsors, we will be right back with the Agent of Chaos, Kevin Kalloway. Don't go anywhere.
Mosquito-borne diseases or mosquito-borne illnesses are diseases caused by bacteria, viruses, or parasites transmitted by mosquitoes. Nearly 700 million people get a mosquito-borne illness each year, resulting in over 725,000 deaths. If you live near a pond or lake, or you're scheduling an outdoor event, go online or call today for your free consultation.
Welcome back, everyone, to Bumping and Thumping, your podcast featuring everything about for independent wrestling from around the world. Join with me is the Agent of Chaos, Kevin Kalloway. So, Kevin, before the break, you were talking about agenting and structuring matches. So, what cool opportunities has your agenting afforded you?
Well, the biggest one is Electric Forest.
Cool.
Honestly, I partner with other people. I won't name drop them, just to the sense of, I don't know if they want to get their name out there. But I partner with a couple other people to make this happen at the shows. And I tend to do the booking of the talent. And I'm given, essentially, someone else comes up with the characters, and then I fill those roles with people who are best around the area and the people that I trust. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing that I look for, I can generally work around people who are a little bit newer in the business, or how some people might say a little greener in the business. But the biggest thing I tend to look for is people who are very professional in that they aren't going to make a scene. They aren't going to just be big egos at the show, anything like that. We've been heralded by Electric Forest for the last 2 years as being some of the most professional crew that we've had there. And I take that to heart when I'm looking at people to bring in. So anyone listening to this, that's the way to get on if you happen to have a role. If there happens to be a role that was good.
So you happen to have a role too, right?
I do, and
you're wearing the shirt.
I am. I was Lord Bummer. I was part of the Bad Vibe tribe.
Yeah.
I was Lord Bummer this year, and then the year prior to that, I was the greatest professional wrestler ever. And I was brought in by Wayne Thurston.
Lord Bummer.
Lord Bummer this year, and then last year it was and then the year before that it was another thing.
So what kind of havoc did you incite as Lord Bummer?
Oh, I gave him a bummer summer, of course. Why wouldn't I? It's the bad vibes all the time, because otherwise if you're just walking around with all these good vibes, like, they're gonna get woken up by the real world at some point, and these hippies need to understand that.
So fair point. What kind of other characters were featured at Electric Forest?
So, there's a lot of good characters at Electric Forest. So a lot of the workers from the area end up playing characters that aren't them, or aren't their character or ring name or whatever. We bring in people, and that's another thing with the big egos. Like, you're not going to be you, and that's big to understand. The bigger names around the areas we brought it, like this year we had Gringo Loco. He was Gringo Loco. We had Facade, the Neon Ninja. He was Facade, because they're larger names around the area and they already fit the aesthetic of the festival. But there are other ones like Litters the Clown, who is basically just a clown in like the crappiest clown costume we could find. And his entire thing is that he litters all around the ring, and he uses that litter to try and win matches. So he'll like throw water bottles at people. He'll try and choke them out with a trash bag. He'll like handcuff them with those 6-pack rings, like all of this stuff, to make sure that he can really get through a match and win however he necessarily needs to. Another one of my favorites is El Hijo del Carl, which for people who don't speak Spanish, that is the son of Carl. At Electric Forest, there's a huge lore about Carl. And if you yell Carl, you can start forming search parties, because there was I don't know if it was a rumor or if it happened or, whatever. I don't know all of it. But at some point there was a man named Carl who got lost in the forest at Electric Forest, and now everyone searches for him. So the son of Carl became a luchador and is still searching for his father. So he wrestles in the ring. This year he wrestled Litters the Clown, which is by far my favorite match, for reasons that I won't get into. But the El Hijo del Carl, like, he'll come out and he'll just start yelling Carl to the audience, and they'll just yell Carl back. And then he'll walk up to people and be like, Carl. So he'll think that everyone is Carl and his dad.
And so from the very beginning of your wrestling career, when you were at that novice point, did you have any expectation that you would be booking for something like Electric Forest?
I couldn't have in my wildest dreams understood where I would be right when I got in. And I don't know if you'll hate me for this, but I'm going to shout him out anyway. Rich, Dickie Bronson is someone that I'm incredibly thankful for in this business. And he's given me a lot of opportunity and a lot of things. He's been a mentor to me at times. Honestly, not even at times, most of the time. And he's been a person who's really trusted me and given me these things. And I just couldn't be more grateful for him.
You know what? He would absolutely hate being shouted out, but he doesn't accept all of the credit that's credit is due. So yeah, he deserves all of the flowers. So Kevin, before we head out, of this amazing episode, how can fans connect with you, and what upcoming opportunities do you have?
So probably the biggest way to connect to me other than social media is I run a Twitch channel. I stream games about 2-3 times a week, depending on the week. The Twitch channel is, I'll give you the full link and then give you the channel name, twitch.tv/Kevin Kalloway Pro. And the channel name is just Kevin Kalloway Pro. It's a pretty easy search, because once you follow me on Facebook, which you can also follow me on, Kevin Kalloway, and then there's also an Instagram. I believe that's actually in reverse. It might be Kalloway Kevin. I don't know for certain. It might be Kevin Kalloway. You could probably search both. It'll come up. It's that big 8-star symbol when you see the profile picture. That's the main places you can find me. And as far as opportunities, I don't have a whole lot going on around August. I'm kind of seeing my family a lot this month and reconnecting with them before I start hitting the road and seeing some new things come September. But there's a lot of opportunities I have. Like I'm agenting for Divine Pro Wrestling, which is all women's promotion, and I'm helping them out so that they can bring out everything possible. Please go to that show, anyone watching. It's going to be a great card.
September 6th.
September 6th, Grizzlies. And then I'm going to be at a honeybee festival, the Rumble of the Bumble, on the day after that, which is September 7th in Ypsilanti. And I'll be a friendly neighborhood chemical who tries to kill things. Past that, you can catch me at Sanctuary Fight Club most of the time. And yeah, those are the big ones. Chainsaw, I think I have at some point, but I'm taking a little break from there too.
I have one more question before you close out. So okay. You started using a different symbol that you already just stated. Mm-hmm. What is that symbol and what is its significance?
It is the symbol of chaos. And really, and perfectly stated, it is an 8-point symbol, and Kalloway is 8 letters. It's apropos.
Ironic. I feel like synchronicities are right in front of our face, Kevin. Is there any correlation between the 8-pointed star and how many letters are in your last name? Who knows?
The correlation is that it's the perfect fit, because
It is
this is who I've always been.
You know what, everyone? This has been another amazing episode of Bumping and Thumping. Kevin, thank you for your time. Thank you to our crew that makes everything possible. And as always, my name is Annie, and thank you for watching. We will see you next time.
I come to you today with a simple message. The weight of words in this day and age is incredibly paramount. See, with a simple word, you can change a friend to a foe. That's why people need to be more measured with their words, whether that be in person, whether that be in messages, whether that be posting publicly. You see, a simple word can do so much, and not only that, but a word cannot be taken away with simple erasers or simple scratch marks. No. Because the human always remembers the words that were said to them at a given time. So, why bring this up? Many people I see in this business, in this industry, they're pretty loose lips. I've covered that in a different message, but they don't seem to understand the gravitas that their words carry. And when you say certain things to people like me, why, sometimes I just take it and make sure I know the knowledge. Sometimes it's held against you. I feel I've demonstrated that already, but there are others whose words just need repercussion. I am the agent of chaos, Kevin Kalloway. And there is nothing that can save you from me.